Hello students, I hope you are all doing well at home. Welcome once again to class 12, subject education. So today's topic is hereditary and environment. So before we start the lesson, students, have you ever wondered where did you come from? Definitely from your parents, right? But what must have happened to your parents? How did they meet? In fact, our human body, the very fact that each one of us, we are very different from the other, we are unique, and there is no one like us in this world. It is very amazing, isn't it? So today you will learn more about yourself. Okay, so the subject education is interesting because it is not an alienated subject, but we study about things or happenings that is already there in your life, right? So you can relate it with your life, isn't it? So even this lesson also, hereditary and environment, is related to your life. It is the fourth chapter of your textbook and it's in page number 38. So it will be good if you can follow me with your textbooks. So sometimes hereditary and environment is also known as nature and nurture. I'll just write it here. Nature and nurture. So nature is hereditary and nurture will be the environment. Okay, so why nature and nurture? It is said that hereditary is something that we get from our parents. That means we cannot stop it. It is very natural. Okay, so that is why nature. And what is environment? Environment is something that shapes us or molds us, isn't it? That is the things around us, the people around us, right? So basically that is why it is known as nurture. As we go deeper into the lesson, you'll be able to understand the concept better. Okay, so first let us try to understand the meaning of what is hereditary. So this is also a Latin derivation and the Latin word is hereditas. So hereditas means capital or inheritance that children get from their parents. So it might be property or the things, the worldly things that we get inherited from our parents. That is the literal meaning. But if you see this definition given by Ruth Benedict, transmission of traits from parents to offspring. So sometimes we are quite similar to our parents, isn't it? The color of our eyes, the color of our skin, maybe the hair, the height, the shape of the face, right? So you can understand this way. All those are the inheritance that we have got from our parents. So that is why transmission of traits from parents to offspring. This cannot be the other way around. This cannot be reciprocal, but we get traits from our parents to offspring. Okay, so that is the meaning of hereditary. So you must be able to relate it with your life also, isn't it? So the way that you live, the way that you appear, many things are similar to your parents or your relatives. And sometimes you must have heard statements like, oh, he's very familiar to his father or mother, right? So that is nothing but hereditary. Okay, so what are some of the mechanisms of hereditary? So there are four mechanisms: mating, growth, chromosomes, and genes. So these are the four mechanisms of hereditary, and it is said that without these four mechanisms, life cannot occur. Okay, so what is mating? Here, mating means that the male and the female should meet and be in union. Then only mating will or reproduction will occur. Okay, so the male sperm and the female ovum will meet together and reproduction will happen from there. So that is how growth will happen inside the mother's womb. Okay, so after the sperm and the ovum of the male and the female mates, growth happens in the form of zygote. So if when you're in your mother's womb, you are not a baby but a zygote. Okay, after that only fetus. So that is how the biological process happens, isn't it? So the next one is chromosomes. So scientifically it is said that from each of our parents, from both our mother and from our father, we inherit 23 pairs of chromosomes. So in the male body and the female body, it is said that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So combined together will be 46 chromosomes, isn't it? So those chromosomes, the X and the Y chromosomes, we inherit from our parents, okay? And then the genes will be the similarities that we have to our parents, the growth that is happening, all those will be the genes, okay? So the mechanism of hereditary are mating, growth, chromosomes, and then the genes, okay? And this is very important. Without this, life cannot occur. So now going into the next concept, what are the types of hereditary? So there are three types of hereditary. The first one is biological hereditary. So biological would mean the process that are going on in the body, right? So according to the biological hereditary, it is said that cow begets cow, humans begets human. So this is a very universal concept, and this also cannot be changed. For this phrase, I'll explain it to you. See, a mother cow will not give birth to a puppy or a dog, isn't it? Or a goat will not give birth to a cow, right? So the same species will reproduce and give birth to the same species, isn't it? And this is same for the human beings also, right? So this is a universal concept that cow begets cow, that means cow will give birth to cow, and then human begets human, that means the human beings will give birth to humans, okay? So that is the biological hereditary. And what is the next one? Mental hereditary. So mental, we all know that it is to do with the brain, the mind, or the intellect, isn't it? So according to this concept, mental hereditary, when a baby is born into this world, some of the basic things that the baby do is suck the mother's milk, isn't that? And then the baby will breathe also, right? And then it'll laugh, cry, or it'll try to move its limbs, isn't it? So from the time that it is born, nobody teaches the baby these things, isn't it? It is quite natural, right? So the instinct or the mind or the mental hereditary will tell the child to move or cry or suck the milk when it is hungry, right? So it is a very natural phenomena, okay? So when we are born into this world, certain mental inheritance are already there in us, okay? So that is the second one. Now let us come into the social hereditary. What is social hereditary? We all know that man is a social animal, isn't it? So we live in a society, right? So each society or each community may be different from one another, but we cannot live alone. That is factual, right? That is universal. So according to the social hereditary, some social etiquettes or social behaviors or laws and customs are inherited. For example, for the Angami people, for example, there are some certain laws and customs, right? So as the child is born into this world, he'll definitely get blended into the culture, isn't it? And same for the other tribes also, right? And for other parts of India also, some communities, they have a little different lifestyle than the other. The appearance is also different. The way that they live or the food habits is also different, isn't it? So that is how we live, the social hereditary. And as the child is born into this world, we don't have to force the child to use all those habits or lifestyle. The child will get blended into the culture or the society as he is living in that group or that community, okay? So that is social hereditary. And it is also said that some architectural monuments, like for example the Taj Mahal, the Qutub Minar, all those things are also social hereditary, it seems, according to some psychologists. Why is that so? Is because, for example, for the Ao community also, there is a certain way of building the house, isn't it? And for weaving also, isn't it? So we follow some certain designs, and this designs, the building of the houses, the architecture and all, it differs from tribe to tribe, isn't it? And same goes with other cultures of the world also, isn't it? So that is why it is said that architectural monuments or the style of building houses also comes under social hereditary. Okay, so those were the three types of hereditary. Now we have some arguments given by Wiesem, Lamarck and McDougall. So this psychologists and educationists, they argue with one another, saying that, you know, for example, if an animal gets scared, then definitely it runs away, isn't it? And nowadays, you know, because of the increased human civilization, animals, they don't have enough space to live, isn't it? So their basic instinct is to run away when they see human settlements, isn't it? And another example can be, you know, some customs and traditions or some lifestyles are inherited from one generation to another, isn't it? So all those observing all those human behaviors, this group of psychologists, they are arguing with one another, and you know, in order to have this argument, they also experimented with animals like rats and guinea pigs and all. So by having those experiments in the laboratory, they are able to relate with the human behavior. Okay, and then in the previous classes, I think I must have told you that education or psychology, educational psychology, is both an art and a science, isn't it? So see, these psychologists, they are not just, you know, blabbering anything, but after intense observation, after following certain scientific steps only, they give their theories, isn't it? So that is why education or psychology is both a science and an art. Science because they follow scientific steps, and then art because it is to do with the human life, isn't it? So these arguments, we cannot deny them because it is quite true to some extent. And then these arguments, they try to contradict with one another, the ideas, but when we study their theories, we understand about the human behavior. That is why we cannot deny them. Okay, so those are some of the arguments, and if you look into your textbook, if you read your textbook, then the ideas will become more clear to you. Okay, and what are some of the laws of hereditary? So the laws of hereditary are, the first one is like begets like. So this is similar with the biological hereditary. That means if the parents are something, or if the parents look in a certain way, or if the parents are, for example, Asian or black or white people, race of people, then the children will also be the same, isn't it? So that is the concept of like begets like. Okay, so as the parents, the offspring or the children will also be similar or follow the parents. Okay, so that is like begets likes. Now let us go into the second one, that is laws of variation. So variation means various kinds or many different kinds, isn't it? So according to this law of variation, it is said that variation takes place in a number of ways. And in the beginning of the lesson, we also understood that there are some certain pair of chromosomes that we inherit from both the mother and the father, isn't it? And then reproduction occurs because of the fertilization of the sperm and the ovum, isn't it? So in the female body also, there are millions and millions of eggs, and same to do with the sperm. So it is said that during the process of fertilization, there are 3 trillion different kinds of differences or fertilization process that are taking place in the body. So 300 trillion is quite a lot, isn't it, students? So that is why it is said that because of the law of variation, we all are unique, and psychologists are of the opinion that each individual is unique from one another. Okay, so that comes under law of variation. Now let us go into law of regression. So see, law of regression is the opposite of law of variation. Okay, how is that so? I'll try to explain it to you. For example, in some children or in some offspring, if the parents are very tall, if both the mother and father is very tall also, the children, you know, are born a little shorter as they grow, right? And then if the parents, the color of the skin of the parents is a little fairer also, when the children are born, they seem to be a little dark, isn't it? So of course, children are familiar or similar, or you know, we inherit the things from our parents, but not all things are similar. Okay, sometimes it becomes quite the opposite. In the process of the union of the sperm and the ovum, the opposite thing happens sometimes. So that is the law of regression. Okay, and then for example, before, psychologists were of the opinion that if the parents have criminal attitude or criminal activities in their life, then the children will also become you know, they'll have criminal characteristics. But as you know, we progresses and as studies were going on, we realized that, you know, with proper education, with proper environment given to the children, you know, the criminal, even if the parents are criminal also, the children will not become like that. The children will understand, and with better education and care, the children can lead better lives. Okay, so there is contradiction to the law of regression also. Okay, but we must understand that law of variation and law of regression, they contradict with one another. Okay, so that is about hereditary, students. And in the next class, we will try to understand what is nurture or environment. Okay, so today we have understood about the meaning of hereditary, what are the four mechanisms of hereditary, and then types of hereditary we have tried to understand, and then some of the arguments given by psychologists, and then laws of hereditary. So these are some of the things that we have taken today, and for the remaining part of the lesson we will continue in the next class. Thank you.